Sup guys, it's Jam from SupJamChan, and I just wanted to make a very short follow-up video about my fairly brief video about Polygons' video about Assassin's Creed The Ezio Collection. There were a lot of very common questions that were brought up a lot, and instead of just answering them one at a time, I think it would be a lot more efficient if I just made a video and just answered them all in one go. So we're gonna go over a couple of misconceptions about my video, some abstract concepts that I didn't really explain or elaborate on. Then we're gonna be talking about some new information that showed up, that's come to light, from Polygon and a variety of other sources. After my video came out, a ton of people kind of did their own research, which is awesome. You guys are awesome. And they were like, what about this and this and this? And this is kind of interesting. So I think it'd be good just to compile everything together. And then we're going to... I felt like I had a third point. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's just a 2-point video. If I have a third point at the end, it'll be there. If not, then it won't. Sorry about that. Alright, so let's just jump right in. The biggest thing that I got was that a lot of people assumed that because I was attacking Polygon, that meant that I was trying to defend Ubisoft or the Ezio Collection. And that's not specifically true. I don't hate the collection per se. I'm not going to buy it because I'm a PC gamer and it's not out for PC. I felt that I was pretty fair with both sides. You know, I wasn't really attacking Polygon per se, just their video. I wasn't really promoting Ubisoft per se, just saying that they weren't as bad as Polygon made them out to be. And the whole question of whether or not the Ezio's Collection is a good port or a valid purchase or worth its money is kind of out of the scope of my video. I was more concerned with bringing to light the misinformation and poor journalism that Polygon utilized to get views on their video and article. But I get it, you know, there has to be a good guy and a bad guy, and if I'm fighting against Polygon, that means I must be fighting for Ubisoft. I don't really care. I just dropped something. That's not good. And I got it. You'll never know what it is. It's in my other hand. And then I suppose that leads to the next point, where a lot of people were complaining that Polygon didn't lie, that everything that they showed is actually in a video, all the bugs and glitches are there. And while I agree with you, how they presented that information is incredibly misleading. Polygon utilized a comparison video format that implies that what we're seeing are exact copies of each other, that we're just seeing the new and old versions of what is actually going on. But they didn't do that. They made a point to show a bug and then regular parkour. In fact, they didn't show regular parkour in the remastered version at all. If you only watched the Polygon video, then you would assume that all the parkour was like that. And they had a lot of really odd comparisons that just made a bit of a joke of the entire format. And that's just misleading. And then a lot of you guys also mentioned that Polygon is a humor site and that their stuff isn't supposed to be taken seriously. Now, I didn't know that going in. I don't read Polygon. I really only see their videos once every couple of years when they do something kind of like this. So I came into this comparison video with the assumption that it was a legitimate comparison of the two games. And I think a lot of people did as well, considering the outrage when that video first came out. You know, I think that if any random person were to go on a gaming news site and watch one of their videos, they would probably assume that it was trying to be legitimate, one way or another. It could be funny, for sure. But at the end of the day, the content has to also be accurate. And Polygon's just isn't. Like it or not, Polygon has a lot of influence in the gaming industry. And, you know, like what Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think Polygon just needs to be a bit more responsible with the content that they choose to produce. You know, just do a little bit of research. Oh, a lot of you guys also made a really good point, that the Ezio Collection was never referred to as a remaster from Ubisoft in any way. They specifically called it a collection video, and in none of their promotional content did they refer to it as a remaster or a remake. It's strictly a port, which means that they're not technically bound to change anything beyond just making it work for better hardware. And that's, I guess, exactly what they did. I suppose you can use this to defend the Ezio Collection, you know, like, well, none of the bugs are fixed, but it's not a remaster, it's just a port. All the bugs are going to be there because they just bumped up the resolution, added some shaders and whatnot. So that's interesting. I don't really want to get into an argument about the differences between a port, a remastered, and a remake. They're all pretty distinct, and this kind of rides the line between the two, and I don't really care. Okay, so enough with your comments. Let's jump into the Polygon stuff. Polygon replied to my video. That was pretty cool. I was flattered, in fact, because I'm just like a dude. They said, "Hey, SupJamChan, that weird NPC face wasn't a one-off thing. It was actually replicated several times, both by multiple members of the Polygon staff and even IGN. You can see him at a 2-minute mark here. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Read more? Just thought we should clarify. So, Polygon is saying that the kooky cartoon clown face shows up in the beginning of the game a fair amount of times, which is perfectly fine. I never insinuated that it was a bug or shouldn't be in the game, just that how they presented that information was inherently misleading. A lot of other people chimed in, saying that they have never seen this face in their iteration of the game. At least 2 or 3 people said that they totally did see it when they played the game, which is interesting. Now, in addition to all of this, Eurogamer also made an article about this subject, and they actually got someone from Ubisoft to chime in on this specific subject. This spokesperson said, "The NPC in question only appears in Sequence 1, Memory 1 in Assassin's Creed 2, and is randomly generated, appearing infrequently. The graphics issue does not affect the core gameplay of Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection." So this, I felt, is really interesting. It implies that this kooky face will not show up in any other sequence of the game, that it's more or less only going to be in the cutscene. I don't know if this face is specific to that one scene and it'll just show up randomly, or if this is a very common face, and sometimes in this specific sequence, it'll lose like bump mapping or shadows or a textured layer and it become really weird looking. So it could be a bug, or it could just be a weird random face thing, or it could be Ubisoft's spokesperson trying to save face, or it could be any number of things. But this is very interesting. You know, if you guys want to delve deeper into that subject, feel free. I think I'm more or less done. In addition to commenting on my video, Polygon also made a point to go back and re-edit their article and the video description of their video. They put the update right up front on the description box, so you're reading it right away if you do read it. If you click the article, the update is at the bottom, so you kind of have to scroll through everything, but the title does note that there is an update going on. So if you read the update, they explain that they couldn't reproduce the fast climbing glitch at all on the Xbox One. Then they confirmed that that one NPC standing behind that character was actually randomized. I think that Polygon going back and updating their information, doing a little bit of extra research, is really awesome. You know, props to them. It takes a lot of courage to realize that what you did is wrong, go back and actually fix it. And they didn't even like hide it, you know? They didn't like secretly edit it in, so they could just be like, "What are you talking about, SupJamChan? We spoke about what you said right here." You know? They made a big update symbol, they wrote it right at the end, all in one chunk, so no one could misconstrue that it was there before my video came out. A lot of people will argue that Polygon is just trying to save face, that they're backpedaling out of this situation that they've kind of walked themselves into. And while I agree with you guys, I still think that doing the right thing for wrong reasons is better than just not doing the right thing at all. So, props to Polygon, you know, great responsibility, great power, whatnot. I don't think I have anything else to say or add to this subject, and I probably won't ever revisit it again. If anything new does happen or show up or come to light, I'll, I don't know, add it to the description box if I care. If I don't care, then you can do some research yourself, you know? I don't know. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and I hope you guys have a good day. Oh, there is one other thing that I was very surprised by. I did not see coming, and that is the amount of comments asking about my freaking headphones. Like, every 20th comment was like, "Why are you wearing headphones, Jam? What are they doing? Do you need them for some reason?" Just thought that was really interesting. If you like this video and you want to see more, feel free to send an email to Ubisoft demanding that they send SupJamChan a brand new Xbox One and the Assassin's Creed Ezio Collection for all the great PR he gave them. Because let's be honest, I definitely sold at least a dozen copies of that game. The reason why I'm always wearing my headphones is because I don't have ears. It's true. They're just holes in the side of my head, like Frieza. Yep.